The Toronto Blue Jays not able to pick up their 7th straight win, but Kevin Gausman looked really good again.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. As always, I'm Brayden. He's Carter First. You can follow us on Twitter, Brayden5 Carter First too as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You get your podcast, your shorts, your live streams, the videos, the whole ordeal, and it's free. So you might as well subscribe. Helps us out. You can also get us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. A lot to talk about today, obviously. Not the best offensive performance we've seen from this team. We'll get into some of that. But then obviously we got to talk Kevin Gausman once again, as he's been just lights out, really. Talk about the final game of the series, plus a little bit of just how the fans react to overreacting, underreacting, sort of something, Carter, I know me and you have been talking about for a while that we wanted to discuss. So we'll get into that in the second segment. I'm not going to lie to anybody right now. I don't feel 100% today. So if you don't hear me yapping as much as usual, I'm sure Carter will pick up the slack for me. He's been known to yap a little bit too. So, Carter, my man, as we continue on through this, I think let's just start with the man of the hour, Kevin Gausman. I'm pretty confident in saying your game one playoff starter, Kevin Gausman. This guy just continues to look amazing. That splitter in this game was really, really getting guys.
Yeah, splitter looked really good. That's what you want to see from Kevin Gausman in the late months of September. But you brought up the splitter. I've been talking about this on the podcast, but I'm way more impressed about the fastball. Just the life that's shown this late in the season. I've talked about this a lot, obviously, but I'll continue to talk about it again because he's shown it time and time again. Like, Kevin Gausman has been good for not just 1 or 2 starts in a row. This has been like 13, 14 starts in a row where Kevin Gausman has been very good. And similar to the Kevin Gausman that we got earlier in his contract, those 2021, 2022 years, the years that he was receiving some Cy Young votes. This is the Kevin Gausman that we need for the Toronto Blue Jays to be successful. So yeah, it's that fastball being located all over the strike zone, but specifically just being in the strike zone earlier on in the count. We talk about how important being in advantage counts are, the ability to be aggressive, especially for a guy like Kevin Gausman, who does get a lot of swing and miss, predominantly off the fastball, and then the splitter playing off of that fastball, but does mix in the slider as well. And it has been increasingly more effective, as it really depends on matchup when Kevin Gausman is going to throw more of those sliders. But getting ahead 0-1 in the count, and just how often he is throwing strikes and how often he is getting ahead in that count, specifically on that first pitch, it just allows him to be in control. It allows him to be on offense and really dominate the entire at-bat. Kevin Gausman is at his best when he is in attack mode, and that all starts with the fastball velocity, obviously being top tier, so it's not getting smacked around the ballpark, but start off with the command. And then the splitter, as we saw in this game, has been playing off that fastball immensely well. Not taking anything away from the splitter, but I think it all starts with the fastball.
Yeah, and you know what, Carter? Something that I think that worked really well in this, or maybe not worked really well, but was a bit of a surprise for me in this game, was Kevin Gausman doesn't usually, if he has a really good start, he's usually not a guy that's going to give up a ton of hits, right? And in this game, he gave up 6 hits. I think what was really good in what I saw was his ability to not get shaken by 1 hit, right? Or a runner on second base. He was always seeming to be able to work himself out of a runner in scoring position or runner on base. It never really seemed to compound. And I think when you're looking for a playoff starter and who's going to, lead your team, that is a big thing to have, is to not worry about the base. Maybe not worry about the base runner. That's not what I meant to say. It more so not letting that affect the rest of your game and pitching differently because there is a guy in scoring position. Kevin Gausman goes in there and continues to do his job. Again, not his biggest strikeout day of all time. He gets 6 Ks, which is good. 2 walks, which, I think that's why it felt like more base runners than, 6 hits necessarily would say. But 6 hits and 2 walks, for him to come out on the side of only one run, I think is a testament to what Kevin Gausman's been able to do.
And this was really an offense that was carried by two players, and it was the two guys at the top of the order. It was Chandler Simpson and it was Yandy Diaz. We saw a little bit of the reverse, but very similar thing to what we saw from Trey Savage in that first game of the series, is that in that game we saw a Chandler Simpson single, and then we saw Yandy Diaz double down the right field line. So that was the same kind of thing as well, the exact same hit that Yandy Diaz has. Chandler Simpson scores and they get down 1-0 early on. Same kind of idea. Chandler Simpson gets a double here, but then Yandy Diaz comes up and kind of flicks the ball down the line. Same idea, except this one's a single, scores Chandler Simpson. Chandler Simpson going 3 for 4 in this game, 2 of those hits being against Kevin Gausman, also robbing Alejandro Kirk of a home run in the 4th inning. So this was really the game of Chandler Simpson. Then Yandy Diaz, I think he's been on base like 11 times in this series. By game 4, I'll get what Yandy Diaz kind of did to this baseball team. Because, he's been very good against the Toronto Blue Jays and trying to play spoiler amidst their run for the American League East. But that's where the offense really carried. And then when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays side, you didn't really get any offense whatsoever. So, you had 2 walks. The whiff's still there for Kevin Gausman, and that's what I'm really looking at. Maybe you didn't get these massive strikeout numbers, but you don't have the most traditional strikeout guys on the Tampa Bay Rays, at least right now. I thought it was interesting that they didn't have the lefties in against Kevin Gausman. They decided to do the reverse splits thing, which a lot of this underlying stats do say, but they had a lot of righties in. They didn't have they didn't have Brandon Lau in the game. They didn't have Josh Lowe. There we go. There's the other one at second base. So both lefties that hit a home run against Gausman in his previous start were not in that baseball game. But it's a very good job by Kevin Gausman. Again, we expect this to happen, but bounce back after giving up a run in the first inning. This guy's a veteran. After that, kind of just goes into cruise control, gives up 4 hits after that. But again, nothing that early did a lot of damage. So, I'm not worried about Kevin Gausman giving up a little bit more base runners here. I think the Rays had a pretty good approach against him. Again, they know him pretty well at this point, being in the division, playing him, multiple times a year for every single year for the last 4 years at this point, with Kevin Gausman being on this baseball team. But, it's if you're going to blame anyone, obviously, for this game, it's the offense and what they did against Seymour on the mound.
Yeah, and you know what? One more thing I want to bring up just on the pitching before we really talk about the offense is that they had 32 strikeouts so far in this series. That's just through the 3 games. Again, obviously not including the 4th and final game. But 32 strikeouts is an impressive number, and I think that comes off of what Trey Savage was able to do in Game 1. I mean, that vaults your strikeout totals right there. But realistically, a pretty solid pitching performance up and down. Again, maybe Jose Berrios you have a little bit of questions about, but that's a guy that we've had questions about for a while now. Really good pitching. They really haven't let up a ton of runs. But this offense hasn't been outstanding. And I think the absence of Bichette right now is being felt. Obviously, they only get 4 hits in this ball game. But it's hard for me to necessarily put a ton on the offense here because they were just on a 6-game winning streak. The offense has been going. This was just a game that they just really couldn't get anything started. George Springer goes 1 for 4, Davis Schneider 1 for 2, and then Ernie Clement gets the other 2 hits, and that's a wrap. That's it. Nobody else did a thing. Obviously, the Alejandro Kirk robbed home run as well.
That's the TSN turning point, obviously. Yeah. I mean, that's the big swing of the game. Chandler Simpson, again, this is the game of Chandler Simpson. He almost single-handedly beats you. Again, there's some other guys you can see more very good on the mound. Yandy Diaz, you got to give credit to their bullpen, or give credit where it's due. But, this was really the game of Chandler Simpson. Alejandro Kirk gets into one. Did that little thing where he pimped it to center field, so I thought it was a no-doubter. I'm like, oh, let's go, Alejandro, putting us ahead. Then I see Chandler Simpson, taking his sweet time, really looking like he's trying to time it up. And that's where I got a little bit worried, and then worried for good reason, obviously, as he does rob that home run. But sometimes, and again, especially in playoff scenarios, those are the plays. And all it takes is that one play, that one catch at the wall, that one swing of the bat. Sometimes it's only that one play that makes the difference. So unfortunately, this time it didn't go the Toronto Blue Jays way, but hey, that's baseball. So that's why, again, I'm not going to get overly upset about this game. Like, some Toronto Blue Jays fans love to get crazy mad at this one loss, you're still up. We have to see what the Yankees did. I believe they probably are going to win this game. It was 8-5 last time I checked. The Tigers lost again, so you're still up. 4 games on them. The Red Sox were going to do extra innings against the Athletics. Obviously, as I'm talking about this, you guys know what the scores are because this comes out in the morning. But with me and Brayden, we still don't know really what's going on. If you want to give, at least me, I guess is more past this point, the update, so we can kind of, talk about where they are in the playoffs.
Yeah, so Red Sox ends up pulling it out in the 10th, 5-4, and the Yankees end up winning 10-5, allowing a lot of runs this series against the Minnesota Twins, which isn't a very good ball club. The Yankees pitching staff might be a little bit under question right now. So I think, seeing that, I don't know if that's the best feeling for Yankees fans heading into, coming close to the playoffs here. But for Blue Jays fans, we absolutely love it.
Yeah, like obviously it sucks to drop a game like on the Yankees, on the Red Sox, like you lose a little bit of ground, but you're still up 2-1 on the Rays, like you're still in a very good spot. You see how the Twins played very competitively as the Yankees did win 2 out of 3, but again, like they really had to scrap and fight for that 2 out of 3. They were up 10-1 in the second game and won 10-9. In this game, they were up a bunch as well. They scored, what'd you say it ended at? It was an 8-5?
10-5.
Oh, it was 10-5. So they even had to add on. They scored 10 runs. The Twins still kind of hanging around, scoring in the middle innings to make it a 7-5 ball game. Ultimately ends at 10-5. But like they play the White Sox, they play the Orioles. I don't care who you're playing in the major leagues. And that's why I said this, is that it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's very easy for the game of baseball to go one way or the other. Like we see in the Tampa Bay Rays and Jays game. It's all it is that one catch. If that's a home run from Alejandro Kirk, we're probably talking about a win. We're probably talking about a 7-game win streak. We're talking about no ground being gained from the Yankees. And all it takes, that's just what I said, that one play. And that goes for every other team in Major League Baseball as well.
Yeah, Carter. And you know what? I think let's take a quick break because I want to come back on a point that you've touched on a little bit here. Just the reaction from the fan base and sort of how it's been, whether it's a loss here or there or a certain win, the sort of fever of emotions that Toronto Blue Jays fans go through. We'll talk about that as well. Obviously, we're going to talk and tee up the final game and just how important the game 4 of this series might end up being or will end up being. So we'll come back. We'll talk all that right after this.
Today's episode is sponsored by 5-Hour Energy Tasty Caffeine. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable that these are. Big taste, tiny shot, and you can take it anywhere and get that boost that you need. We were always talking about the 5-Hour Energy transfusion shots being on the golf course. Now, unfortunately, it's getting towards that time of the year where it's not that warm out anymore. So I've been going over to these caffeine shots. I've been loving the blue raspberry flavor. I'm just a tried and true homer when it comes to blue raspberry. I've never had anything bad. And it goes to show that that tried and true formula has not failed me here as well with the 5-Hour Energy shots whenever I am in just a bad spot in my day. If I'm just a little bit tired, maybe didn't get a good sleep, maybe my Panthers lost, maybe the Jays lost, I'm just having a bad day, I get that pick me up with the blue raspberry 5-Hour Energy tasty caffeine shots. They've helped me so much, and hopefully they can help you guys as well. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine, and it's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the flavors you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today.
So, Carter, just continuing on, obviously, as we were just discussing, the reaction from Jays fans in regards to losses, big wins, big moments, sort of the up and down of just Blue Jays fandom. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that is pretty noticeable, I think. And a Canadian market, Canadian team, you see a lot of this in the NHL as well in regards to Canadian markets. It's just the Canadian way, right? Sometimes it's a lot of diehard fans. I think it is what it is, right? Is even if you're not keeping up with the team, they're your people, right? They're your team. And I think Canadians are very like that, where you live and die by the sports teams, and I'm right there with everybody. I mean, I wouldn't be doing a podcast if that's not the case. But Carter, I know it's something you wanted to talk about for a while, so I'll throw it over to you to sort of where you came up with this, where this is all stemming from, and whatnot.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions throughout, not even just this year, just the previous years with Toronto Blue Jays fans. And that can be a lot of things. Like there's a lot of pressure on this Toronto Blue Jays team. Obviously, there's one team in Canada, just having that as well. And Canadians love sports, and specifically baseball. Canadians are all across Canada are obsessed with baseball. Like if you guys didn't know, like we're from Winnipeg doing this podcast. We're trying to go to Toronto probably once a year now. I know Brayden really wants to go to the ALDS. I want to go as well, but with weddings, stuff like that, it's been a little bit tough to coordinate, but we're always trying to get out there. But like there's people that watch this podcast, obviously from Saskatchewan, like BC, there's Quebec, there's all over the place in Canada. So obviously there's that immense pressure of just having one country watching your baseball team. I think a little bit of it stems from the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. And what the recency bias is with that team kind of going on to the Toronto Blue Jays, because you get a lot of that, obviously, overlap of Leafs fans going to the Toronto Blue Jays. And with the lack of success in the first round, again, they've kind of gotten over it a little bit recently, but with that generational run that they were on, the Maple Leafs being that they were unable to get past the first round. Luckily for us, we're not Leafs fans, but obviously diehard Toronto Blue Jays fans. So we're safe from that, but I think that puts the Jays' lack of success recently a little bit into the fans' eye as well. But a lot of pressure on this team. I think the main reason why that we see a lot of fans overreact to a lot of like Toronto Blue Jays losses, maybe it's bad performances, like not specifically this last loss to the Tampa Bay Rays. So I think with us, with the fan base in totality, they're starting to see this match number, and they're starting to see like the records from a lot of these other teams in the American League. Like if they were to catch up with the Toronto Blue Jays, but they'd have to go down the stretch, like seeing that the Yankees have to go like 9-1 to catch the Toronto Blue Jays. I think a lot of people have come to terms with, hey, this is obviously a playoff team. They should win the American League East. It's definitely not guaranteed at all. They still have to work for it, but they're in a pretty good spot. So I think they know not to like get crazy mad. Hey, this loss is like the end of the world, because they're in a pretty good spot. But in totality, I think it's just the expectation that we've seen that the Toronto Blue Jays have had since, honestly, the 2020s, 2021. And it's just the familiarity. Like, we have seen things go wrong for the Toronto Blue Jays way more than things have gone right. And even just going back to, like, let's go to 2021. That team is what a lot of people since, we'll say 2016, talk about as their favorite baseball team in that stretch. That team didn't make the playoffs. That team did not have a bullpen whatsoever. They didn't have a pitching staff. Like, that was a massive problem on that Toronto Blue Jays team. 2022, you have a pretty good offense. That team, like, that's a frustrating series against the Mariners. I'm not going to go too much into depth on that one. Then you get the Twins in 2023, again, just not really an offense. But there's always expectation. Toronto Blue Jays are always supposed to be top 5 in the American League, top 10 in the MLB, sometimes top 3 in the American League, sometimes top 3 in the MLB. But every year we seem to see something go wrong. So at times in this season, I think what just human nature is to do is you fall back to what you're comfortable with and fall back into familiarity. And that's what Toronto Blue Jays fans tend to do when you see these blowups, when you see that maybe Vladdy's going through a cold streak. You see Kevin Gausman struggle at the beginning of this year. You see Jeff Hoffman go out. Maybe that one's a little bit different because it's been more consistent. You see Jeff Hoffman go out. And even as a team in totality, you see that the Toronto Blue Jays maybe go on a 2-game losing streak, or they lose a series to a playoff team. You're like, oh no, this is where things kind of fall off the hinges. Because you saw it a lot in 2024 and 2023. Just when you thought things were figured out, the Toronto Blue Jays kind of punch in the face, slug you one, catch you off guard, and then kind of just set you back to mediocrity. Whereas this year, it feels different. And when we talk about the Toronto Blue Jays right now, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but we talk like one day we're going to go over, and we could do it like just briefly right now, just go over everyone on the Toronto Blue Jays that's performed over expectations. And when you look at playoff teams, you look at teams that win the World Series and tend to do well in the playoffs. They have these unexpected guys that just have career years. They have these overperformers. They have these gems that come into the bullpen. And when you look around this Toronto Blue Jays roster, there's a ton of guys on this ball club that are having career years that are way different players than they were in previous seasons. So I know it's very easy to fall back into the old ways and to get very over dramatic about a loss. But we're at this point now where this team is not like any other team that we've seen. Like, you could argue that there's holes in the bullpen, but the bullpen has shown within the last week or two, and has shown throughout the season, that it can be very good. Whereas in previous years, there's always been one major glaring hole in the Toronto Blue Jays. So that's in my big tangent, and to sum it all up, I urge people to give the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit of slack, especially, for the rest of the regular season, at least. Again, if they lose 6 games in a row, yes, for sure, you're allowed to get angry. The playoffs, if they lose, again, the playoffs is where it matters. Completely understand there. But we're at this point in the season. I think that you shouldn't get that over dramatic about, once in a while having a player or the team going through some tough stretches, because everyone does that in baseball.
Yeah, Carter, you know what? Sometimes I envy the casual fan. Whether it is hockey, football, baseball, whatever it is, you come in, you see the team win, you enjoy the team, right? And I think that's where the diehards can sort of beat themselves up over the ball club or whatever sports team you want to talk about. And I almost sometimes want to take a step back myself and just remember that this is a team I love. Like, I could have been upset after this loss. I really, I could have said, well, the offense didn't do enough, and I could be screaming at my wall here. But at the end of the day, I got to look at the sample size we've been given. And in this sample size, I think you see a lot more success than you do failures. And yes, if this team doesn't do anything in the playoffs and goes out there and throws a dud, yeah, open season, be frustrated, be mad. That's totally fair. But they're set up in a really good position right now. And I'm really trying to enjoy that right now, because there has been a lot of seasons where I couldn't say the same thing. I couldn't say that this team is set up for success, but this season I really can, Carter. You brought up the couple facets of the game, right? Of there always being one that's off, right? If it is the pitching, if it is the bullpen, if it is the offense, it seems like every season this team just couldn't put it all together at once. Well, for the most part, I'm fairly confident in every aspect of this team. And that's something, I don't think a lot of ball clubs can say. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this year finishes. I really am, just to see how this offense competes in the playoffs, how this bullpen is going to sort of show us that they bounce. They've already sort of shown us that they can bounce back after a brutal August, but can they continue that going? The pitching staff. I mean, Kevin Gausman, I don't think I've given this guy enough hat tips for what he's been able to do over these past few starts. It's really been a lot of fun. And a guy that I've loved ever since he became a Toronto Blue Jay. I've loved Kevin Gausman. And so to see him succeed is something special. And, to see guys that you pull up from the minor leagues or little additions from the teams, whether it's via trade, whatever it is, and them to come in and have success, I think shows a lot about what this team can do for players and what the players do for each other. Because I think everybody is, hey, do your part, live and die by, the guys in this locker room. So it really has been a lot of fun. And Carter, me and you going on tangents here, but it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. And you know what? I feel like that's one thing me and you don't talk about enough is, we sit here and we break down the games, but I think we don't really talk about how much we enjoy this ball club and enjoy watching and talking about with our friends or, whoever it is. The amount of people that I've met over the past couple months now that are Toronto Blue Jays fans, whether it's in Canada, outside of Canada, right across this country, just from having this podcast and having some really fun, interesting conversations, makes me realize how much love there is for this team and how much baseball is important to people in Canada. And there's going to be people out there that say hockey's number one sport. You're absolutely right. But there are going to be people that say you don't understand baseball. It doesn't get enough love down there. I think people are wrong. I think that baseball really does, when there's a good team, brings people together here in Canada.
And people are going to see, especially Americans are going to see when the Toronto Blue Jays are hosting some playoff series and they're seeing how packed the Rogers Center is. But we've talked a lot about expectation, and we've talked about a lot of people overachieving expectations, like George Springer, Addison Barger. You can go completely down the list. Whereas, like, we talked about 2024, and you just talked about how grateful you are just to watch the Toronto Blue Jays in 2025. And that's for good reason, because we went through 2024. That was our first year doing the podcast. Not a great year to start a podcast on the Toronto Blue Jays. There was a lot of games that it was not any fun watching the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, at this point, we weren't even talking about the Toronto Blue Jays. It was like, oh, thank God the season's almost over. Thank God there's 10 games left within the season. So again, you got to be grateful where the Toronto Blue Jays are at. But at the same time, we talk a lot about expectation, but now the expectation has changed, and it's changed drastically. Like, at this point, we're not happy about maybe getting the bye, maybe winning the American League. Like, yes, you're happy about winning the American League, obviously, but that, like, if that's it, like, you are not happy about that whatsoever. The expectation has completely changed. We've seen that this team is different. We feel that you can put anyone in any different scenario and they are going to succeed. Shreyas Savage has come up. You've had Jonathan Clase hit game-tying home runs at some points in this year. Like, you had just guys that you didn't expect to be on the Toronto Blue Jays, like Addison Barger being one of those guys, wasn't even on the opening day roster. None of these guys are overachieving and proving people wrong with their expectations. But now there's a new expectation, and that's to make a deep playoff run. So we talk, just circling this back into like kind of one big argument, is that there's a reason, again, when you see the Toronto Blue Jays kind of go downhill and you start to see them fall down and get a little bit lackluster, It's kind of that thing. It's like you've been hurt by the Toronto Blue Jays before. It's like when, like, if your girlfriend cheats on you, you're not like, you're just going to be worried about all your other girlfriends cheating on you. And it's kind of the same thing as the Toronto Blue Jays. We saw what happened in 2021. We saw it go bad in 2022 and 2023. It is 2025 here, and it's hard to buy in. But what fixes all of that? Not this, cheating on your girlfriend. This is separate now. We're back to the baseball here. What fixes all of like the lack of confidence in your baseball team? It's winning. It's winning. If they go on a deep playoff run, if they win the ALDS, they win the ALCS, if they can pull it off and win the World Series, is anyone going to be talking about 2022? Is anyone going to care about 2023? Is anyone going to care about what happened in 2024? No, you're going to be talking about the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays and how special this goddamn baseball team was.
Yeah, Carter. You know what? I said it. I'm not a tattoo guy. Never been. If there was one thing that would ever make me get a tattoo, it would be a Toronto Blue Jays World Series. So, yeah, you know what? Just a good time. And
what I could see you doing is like, if you guys know from, maybe you guys aren't as online as much as I am, but from Better Media, there's a guy named Derek who does a lot of bets and things like that. And he got the Buffalo Bills World Series champions, or World Series, Super Bowl champions tattooed on his leg, I think in 2023. Like, that, you'd be the guy that would jump the gun on the Toronto Blue Jays in the playoffs. The World Series champions in 2025 just completely just mush the Toronto Blue Jays, and then you got to fix the year every single year. Where it's like, oh no, now you jinx the Toronto Blue Jays for 20 years, and now you got to fix the year, and you got to redo this tattoo every single year. So I'm gonna make sure that Brayden does not do that. But that is, you're the kind of guy that I can maybe see possibly doing that.
No regrets.
Yeah, and then spell it wrong.
All right, we'll come back.
What a movie!
What a movie! Great movie. We'll come back. We'll come back. We'll chat
a little bit off brand, like the regular Blue Jays talk. Some inspiration coming from the boys after a tough loss, and maybe that's where downplaying the loss a little bit here. Like, that sucked. Like, I always like to circle back and put emphasis on like 4 hits against Ian Seymour, who has been good this year. I get it. Like, and then Pete Fairbanks. Like, the pitchers that you saw were good, but you're playing the Tampa Bay Rays team that's under 500. Like, you're going to be facing tougher pitchers in the playoffs. Your offense has to be better than that. But again, if you're worried about the Toronto Blue Jays, circle back and just restart the second segment here. Just listen to that all again. Because, yeah, there's definitely not the time after losing. Again, tough game, 2-1. But if one play goes the other way, we're in a completely different light here for the Toronto Blue Jays. So we're still in a good spot. You got to keep the train chugging, though. There is only, 10 games left now in the season. We're almost down to the single digits. Still another game that we want to preview in this series. But Brayden, anything else that you quickly want to kind of throw into, at least for the third game of the series before we get into the last one?
No, not overly. Again, it's one of those going to be forgotten games, right? I think when you look at the other 2 games of this series, there was so much that was coming out right around Bo Bichette, around Trey Savage, all of these guys that, yeah, now we're sitting here like, whoa, there's not a ton to talk about from that game, but it was sort of just a nothing burger. It is what it is. This team will bounce back. I believe in them. We'll talk about game 4 right after this short break.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's the 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes into play. It's the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together into one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your iPhone. Monarch is built for the people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. It can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. One thing I always use this example because it's the most common one for me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going through this one as well, is that I know groceries are expensive as well, but fast food is even more expensive. It adds up so quickly, especially if you're doing it multiple times a day. I didn't realize how much money I was spending on fast food until I did get Monarch Money, and then I realized, hey, you're spending hundreds of dollars per month on fast food. That would be a lot better for you if it was delegated to other resources, obviously like the bills, like things that actually are a little bit more important in life. So I do still obviously eat fast food, but just nowhere near as much as I did. And that's thanks to Monarch Money. Don't let the financial opportunity slip through your fingers. And you can use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB.
So, Carter, continuing on, obviously one more game left in this series. The Toronto Blue Jays looking to get the series win. And I think it is important, of course. Every win at this point of the season is important. Chris Bassitt, Shane Baz on the bump. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Chris Bassitt brings because Shaner ain't too great this season. So I think the Blue Jays can take advantage of this one, and I think day game. I think this is lining up for a nice little viewing party for me and you. I got tomorrow off, thank God, because I feel like a train ran over me today. And it'll be nice to be able to sit on my couch, watch the Jays, and then get the pod, do the pod, and then sit down and watch football. It's gonna be a nice little Thursday.
And if I'm remembering this correctly, Shane Baz got sent down to AAA at one point of this year for the Tampa Bay Rays. So he's back, obviously making a start. The starting pitching depth a little bit thinner since the trade deadline, but not a very big game for the Tampa Bay Rays. Pretty big game, obviously, for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially coming off of a loss. Depends what the New York Yankees do, the Red Sox, Tigers, other teams in the division a little bit as well. But let's take care of business. Let's win one yourself. Chris Bassitt on the mound. Again, that for me at least, the third playoff starter is pretty wide open still. Trey Savage making his way into that mix. Max Scherzer with the veteran presence, obviously, and just what he's done this year. Chris Bassitt just trying to find his way into at least the top three into the playoff starting rotation. He has been very good recently, hoping to continue that on. Hopefully limit the damage from guys like Yandy Diaz and Chandler Simpson, because my God, these guys have been beasts so far throughout this series, and I think it's going to bode well for Chris Bassitt specifically to keep Simpson off the bases, because man, can that guy fly around the base paths?
Oh yeah, he's quick, man, and honestly, that can get you a hit here, a couple stolen bases there. It could change the outcome of that game. So yeah, I'm pumped about it. I'm just excited. I want to see this team, get back onto their offensive ways. I think they can do it. I don't think this is going to be a slide for the Toronto Blue Jays coming off a 6-game win streak to a loss. I have a feeling that this team's going to get sort of right back on the wagon here. So that's my prediction. I think this is a win for the Toronto Blue Jays and what will end up being a series win as well, Carter.
Yeah, you need it. You need it not badly. Again, depending on what other teams do, you're in a pretty good spot, but you don't want the standings to start dwindling. You don't want the games to become increasingly more important later on in the season. Again, we're in the weird spot because there's going to be that rest versus rust argument, whereas you want the Toronto Blue Jays to play competitive baseball down the stretch. When you have Bichette out, you have Anthony Santander out, you have some guys that would definitely benefit from having some rest that you wouldn't want to throw into these games that have meaning, especially in the regular season. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know Santander probably isn't coming back for the regular season, but Bichette, it's already said he's not coming back for the regular season, but just for everybody else as well. It's probably the best, at least. This is where I stand on it. It's probably the best for wear and tear if they're not playing, 100% diving for every single baseball, at least on the close plays, if they have that certainty, hey, we're fine in the standings. I don't have to go all out to make sure that we're in a playoff spot. That's only going to be beneficial for the Toronto Blue Jays to limit risks.
Yeah, avoid injury. We're going to have a bigger discussion on rest versus rust as sort of we get closer and closer to the playoffs and what a wild card, avoiding the wild card series can really mean for this team. But that's in the days to come. Carter, my man, I got to get the heck out of here and probably go right to bed. But in saying that, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know a little bit of a different one. There wasn't a ton that came out from this game or big news, big whatever. So this was just a bit of a, hey, let's get the feelings and thoughts and whatever out from the boys here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Carter, any last little words from you?
No, hopefully we can just report back with the Toronto Blue Jays win. Hopefully they can continue to drop that magic number, still being at 6, unfortunately, from that Tuesday. So we're looking for the schedule to go down. Hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays can gain some ground. But if anything, let's just keep the standings where they're at. It's only going to be beneficial to the Toronto Blue Jays. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.